Giuliano Calza, welcome to Fashion Forensics.
Thank you, Angel.
A fashion designer born in Naples, you moved to Milan to study political science, and you kind of find yourself in the world of art and fashion. And then you moved to Shanghai at the age of 23 to learn Mandarin. And you also found yourself again to just see how people interact with fashion there. And then you came back, and in 2015, you founded your own brand, GCDS, which you have grown into your own empire. And you right now are reaching more than 400 stores worldwide. And you've achieved the accolade of one of the fastest growing independent brands of our time.
Wow.
So tell me, I want to ask you, the first question is, how would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as a deep superficial.
Expand on that.
I really think I'm the product of my time in a way that I had the chance to do the best of my time here on Earth till now. So I come from a background of like very interesting Neapolitan people. So my mom is a psychologist and my dad. So it's all about like how you feel. How does this make you feel? How does this make you feel as the other? And lots of conversation around being. And on the other side, my dad was a scientist, basically, an engineer. And it was all about numbers, history, planets, evolution. So they got me into this really rigid, solid education, which was mandatory. They had nothing in a way. They created all by themselves by working. So there was a big struggle around how you create a good life for yourself and how it has to be based on like education and like growing, and which for me was literally my real reality. So in the second part of my life, I had to discover that that was my real struggle in life, because coming from a place of deepness, I just wanted to be easy, shallow, fun. And
You wanted to let your hair down a little bit.
exactly. And I didn't understand that people were not understanding it at first. So, but I think everything was very cohesive with my being, the brand, and what I wanted to offer and how I wanted to show it, that then in the end, people really got hooked up to my world.
And I mean, I want to take you back to kind of your, I guess, childhood, teenage years. And when you think about it, what was your kind of first interaction with fashion? Do you have like a first visual memory when you were a child that really stuck out to you, that you were like, oh, this is something that I might be interested in?
I gotta say that we lived in Vico Stella 10 in the Quartiere Sanità, which is a really, I would say, not princess style place in Naples. But we had this amazing, incredible house. It was an apartment with a huge terrace looking over the Vesuvio, which was the set for all my playtime and like growing as a young adult. And my family had, my mom had a walk-in closet, which was surreal in such a place, in such a time. And I remember myself to find this tennis skirt. It was a pleated skirt with tennis, like little featurette, little images on top. And that was the first time I stopped, like literally looking at an item and loving an item. I was like, what is this? What is this about?
Yeah.
But I had always had a creative environment around me. Like I grew up in a place kind of like this, full of books, TV, cassettes, and this old sewing machine. So that was my first,
Your kind of first touch point with it.
yeah. But it came much later to me to realize that there was actually like, there was something beyond clothes, like something that was more interesting. Like I would be playing piano, doing art and crafts and pottery, like all my life. I was really good at sketching, but I was not interested in fashion that way. Like it was not something that was thought to me. Like it was not something that you say, oh, you need to buy clothes. The clothes were just given to us. It was just like whatever you're going to find. But I think we go back to the first picture.
Yeah. I'm going to take you actually to the first image, which is one of my favorite images as well. It's Alexander McQueen, Spring Summer 2005. It's Only a Game. And I mean, this show has been referenced many times by people, but it holds a very special place to your heart. So tell me a little bit about this first image and why you chose it.
So my first adventure in London, actually in Brighton, was when I was 15, 16. I don't remember. One of my best friend was working in there as a nanny, like for the summer, in a rich people house. And she invited me over to spend a couple of months. So that was my first London trip in my whole life. And I remember to see this image on a book table in this house and going back to it every day for a couple of weeks just because I couldn't understand. It was a play, it was fashion. And I literally remember having this very first, I arrived to the idea that it was not just about clothes, but it was about the world you can build through clothes and through creative direction, which I never had the feeling about it. I was like, what is this? What I was living for the first time in London, so experiencing like this weird woman hair up, like,
Yeah.
and then seeing it like this in such a modern way. And I used to play chess at the time. When I was a kid, I used to play chess with my dad. So for me, it was very surreal to conjugate all of these things together. And I was like, this is like literally you can build worlds out of like things that you like, things that you are passionate about.
Yeah, and what that says about you is that you can kind of bring different worlds and sides to yourself and to your work.
I think so too. And I think there's a lot of manifestation power because this is a full circle story. So a couple of weeks ago, I go to a fashion week dinner for Vogue Italia, and I found myself with Maria Carla Boscono and Natasha Polly talking. And I was like, oh, what's my favorite show? And la, la, la. And I was like, oh, it's only a game from McQueen. And both of them was like, oh, I was an horse. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, I was an horse in that show. I was wearing the horse look. And I was like, what are you saying? They show me the picture and I never noticed. It was the youngest Maria Carla Boscono,
Yeah.
an incredibly gorgeous, like one of a kind Natasha. So I was like, this is like the places that I imagined, that I dream of. Now, like
Yeah.
my
You're entering
real.
rooms that you kind of dreamt of entering.
So I think it's both being very passionate, but also like believing in the things you love
Yeah.
that can take you places in a way. And that's what I've done with my job till now.
And tell me a little bit about kind of the decision. So you were a teenager, kind of seeing the UK London rebellion and the punkness of it all, and then you started to pursue in university political science. What was the decision behind
It was
that?
not a decision of mine, I got to say. It was a decision of my parents. In a
Mm,
way, I like they took me to the American school. Like every afternoon, I had to go by myself since the age of 10 to American school in the afternoon. So
yeah.
that was the very first luck that I had. So since a very young age, I was able to speak English, which was a luxury in Naples of that time. And when I was about to decide what was my future about, I was finishing high school and they were like, oh, you want to pursue, like, you want to have a career in design, but there's no need of designers. I was like, what do you mean? What are you saying?
Especially in Italy, that's a very interesting point.
And they were like, yeah, read this book. It was China is Not for Everyone by Rampini, which was a very mind-opening book that was talking about the future of the world, that what we are experiencing today, actually, how the universe, like the universe we were, like the world we were considered being that would change, and the axe of the world would gravitate towards Asia, and like how all the production would be made in Asia and stuff. So my dad was like, why don't you study Chinese?
Hmm.
That could get you inside of a place that you want to go, but from another door. You're already very good at designing a thinking thing, a realizing thing, and sewing things together. But why don't you do this as a side? And then you get a major, at least 3 years in political sciences. So I was stuck in Naples in the beautiful University of L'Orientale, which is one of the first university in Italy that was having the Chinese course, let's say. And my third year, I actually won a scholarship just because I wanted to leave. I was feeling like, oh my gosh, I live in a bubble and this is going to be forever. So I did my third year in China, in Shanghai, and that was the moment I burst the bubble. I was like, oh, there's something else out there. Like I've studied it on books and I've just read about it. And
Yeah.
now I was like, there's other people, there's other culture, there's other.
There's other ways of interacting with all of this world that we
Yeah.
know.
And also I was coming from an American background, which was made of different values and different ideas. And going to Asia in a moment where Asia was literally booming and was the future in front of my eyes was just like, this is the best choice I've ever done. I'm experiencing the future before everyone else.
And how did it feel? Because you spent 3 years in China.
It's almost full because basically I had you have accurate thing, but it was actually 1 year of like university. Then I finished Bocconi here in Milan. That was my last tax to be paid to my parents. They were like, do this. And then I moved back because I started working in fashion in Milan. I was extremely pissed by the environment. And I was like, I'm not giving my life to this
Yeah.
sort
I'm not
of
going to stay
life.
stagnant
No,
anymore.
exactly. And I moved back to China for other 3 years. So in total, I was there for 4 years. And it's just that I was, when you see a place that moves faster and you go back to a place that moves slower with like ideas that belongs to the past, you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why I want to go back? And China was the places I felt more myself. I started experiencing so many things like with my sexuality, with my with the expression of myself.
Yeah, with your identity.
Yeah,
Right.
it was even easier to build your own self and like express your own self because so the fun thing about my years in China is that when you live in China, you feel like all the time like the main character. Because as much as you can speak a good Chinese, you don't look like them.
Yeah.
So you're always going to feel a bit white Warren, which they define someone that comes from the outside, so stranger.
Yeah.
And that gave me the power to not feel like I had to fit in. I had the power to just be myself. And
It's almost very freeing when you have
yeah,
that because you don't have to perform to certain
certain
standards or
rules.
yeah.
Because everything is different. Like I'm very touchy. I'm from the south of Italy. So imagine like I'm hugs and kisses and
Yeah.
come to here, I'll cook for you. And there, this was absolutely a no-go. So at first I felt very naked and afraid. And then I was just like, oh, I don't have to care. I don't have to go for the ideals and the rules that this society always puts you on and be like, oh, you have to be this.
Yeah.
And also coming from an American background, that was very about image making and going to China is more about this deep shallowless, this superficial that I talk about is when you go to China, you experience deep values about like how you relate to people, how you understand the language, and how you learn a language, and how you write a language. So for me, it was just like the world upside down. I was Alice in Wonderland on the other side. So it was extremely fulfilling in a soul way, and I was like giving myself the time to build in and not build out.
Yeah. And I mean, I can only imagine that those 3 years kind of shape you. It's one of those moments in life I think where you sink or swim. It's the character defining moment whether you realize what am I cut out for? Am I cut out for, leaving everything that I know and building my entire world the way I want it, or am I cut out for, being coming back and just being okay with what life has served me. And tell me a little bit about the kind of first moments of your thinking about, okay, I want to move back to Milan and I want to start my own brand and I know who I am and I know what I want to design.
So there was not the moment. So it was very instant. Basically, I was kicked off China. After 3 years, I was working as I was working a lot of jobs, let's say so, to put it in in a helpful way. Like I was working at night in clubs, I was working in the day in restaurants, I was designing menus, I was doing like all of it. Like I was serving tables when there was the necessity. And at some point I had this police meeting, which is very usual in China. You just go, you register yourself, you're anyway a European in there. And after like this 45 lovely conversation to my people, they're just like, you have 25 and more touristic visa and you speak Chinese fluently and you've been here for the past 3 years and you studied here 5 years ago. You're not a tourist.
And that's when the penny drops.
And exactly when the penny drops. And I was like, you have 1 week, one entrance, and then you got to leave. So
how did that feel to kind of that life that you know and love to all of a sudden be like come to a very screeching halt?
You just feel like everything is like your life is gone.
Yeah.
And I remember I tried my best. I went to Hong Kong, I went to Macau, and that was the really last moment I thought, oh, I can make it happen. I called my mom and every visa office was like 1 week, one entrance. That's what we can give you. There was something in the system that the police like nobody could get me a visa. And I remember being in Macau in this giant Vegas style casino. Everyone was smoking, playing slot machines, and I was on the phone, like a real phone, not a real phone with my mom saying, what do I do?
Yeah.
What am I? And my mom with like very
Being
karmic,
a psychologist.
being a psychologist, very, very Hinduist, very meditative, very like, she was like, if life is giving you this is exactly what's meant for you. So just go with it, swim for it, but just do the best you can do out of this situation. There's nothing you can change about it. And I was like, oh, thanks. Very helpful. Anyway, I go back to China to pack my whole life for the past 3 years. And the guy that was helping me producing like I was also designing the looks for the restaurant I was working in. So all the stuff would have like
you were all-rounded creative.
Yeah. And I was like the resource for everything that how it does have to look, how's the chef gonna look like, how the pizza guy is gonna look like. So I was like, and he says I had my whole crew. So one of my closest person to my heart was Cherry. She was I was pronouncing it in Chinese, but she was the cleaning lady of one of the restaurants, and I would spend the after hours with her, and she would teach me Chinese. Like very, very specific words that I didn't know about, or like impossible for a European. And then there was this guy that was the owner of the factory that would deliver the clean uniform. And they were like my crew, my best friends. And one of them was like, and this guy, not one of them, was like, you understand people. People loves you. You should be in contact with people. Decide something that I can produce for you, and I will do it for free. And that was the moment I still had no means and tools and ideas of what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted a logo, a box that I could fulfill with my fantasies, something that was just the center point and the star of my design journey in a way. Like they were offering me for the first time to do something for myself, that it was not like a service to someone. And so I made this logo sweater, the GCDS logo sweater, and socks. And I literally flew back with 2 luggages and a backpack. One luggage was sweater, one luggage was socks. And then I had a backpack with my necessities, let's say. And all the rest was left in China with my old life.
You really were starting new. It was a new chapter.
I actually had no money to ship back my stuff. So there was no other way of doing it.
Yeah.
It was just like, go. And I was literally going with the flow, but in the very packed up and ready to fight. Long story short, I team up with these people that had a digital, like they were my friends. They had a digital company. We set up a website. We start selling these sweaters. And long story short, I went viral.
Yeah, I think, because that was in 2015,
Yeah.
right? So 10 years of your brand.
February is 10 years.
And you kind of, I think it was also the time of everything that's when people started to really engage with fashion online.
And influencers and like placement, product placement, it felt still organic.
Yeah.
And it was easier to sell 500 sweaters back then than now, with no tools and no.
Yeah. The novelty of it, something new. Oh, who is this person that's doing something different or designing something different?
And the concept was really nice, I think. It's still nice, but it's changed. It evolved. At the beginning for me was a sonority, the community of the weirds.
Yeah.
The one that didn't fit in. And I promised myself that the beautiful things that I could fetch and find in China were not at my. I couldn't get them anymore physically. I could.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna create something so exciting that today I finally define as toys for adults, which is not as sexual, even if the brand is sexy. That is just something that is gonna make you happy.
Yeah.
Something beautiful, something that cheers up your day. And that was exactly my findings in the Chinese market. Something that you're like, oh my gosh, I need this doll. Oh my gosh, this mask. Oh, this something. So it started and people were very receptive. Like celebrities and a magazine would shoot me for free. And that's when it literally started becoming bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger and bigger in such a short time. Then I got my first showroom and then my first fashion show. I don't know why, but I was the new thing in Italy. Yeah. It felt like a new look.
You're part of a new generation of
creatures.
Of creatures, of creators, of design, people that kind of know the rules, but they don't play by them because they have their own rules in their universe.
And I think the knowledge of fashion that I built throughout the years before gave me a point of view of course I love McQueen, but I'm never going to be McQueen. I have no skills to be McQueen. And I don't think it's even the right time to be successful as McQueen.
Yeah.
I just knew that I was, and still to this day, I think my big struggle, my big power is to be very understanding of the codes and translate them into my alphabet and being very good at using them.
Yeah.
So it was just building something that was very current, was very easy.
It was also very
easy. Yeah,
I think
easy to understand.
I remember, being a teenager, and it was 2016, and that's when I first discovered your brand, and it was you and Virgil's own Pyrex brand that I kind of really fell in love with, and it was those two, but it was those two kind of two pieces of the same coin, in the sense that it's a disruptive nature of fashion. The fashion can take all of these codes and can just reconstruct them to fit in a new generation of people. And that kind of brings me to the second image that you shared, which is Tiana Taylor's appearance at your show in New York. Tell me a little bit about why you chose this image and kind of the story behind it.
So this was actually my second show. I had my first show in Milan, and then they invited me from New York Fashion Week as the Italian most loved. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go. I had no money, no nothing. I was like,
fearless, just
let's try to do it. And I remember I was like, yeah, but what is the purpose of a show if there's no entertainment? At first, when they offered me my first show during Milan Fashion Week, I was like, yeah, sure. And I'm going to showcase hoodies and socks. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But how do I make it? It felt like, Tiana felt like once again, I understood that I needed a representation of my world. And she was exactly what I was looking for. She was strong, she was bold, she was extremely cool in an effortless way. And I contacted her. I was just like, would you like to close my show? And she did the air flip at the end of the runway, that when she literally took off the glasses, throw it in the audience, and did the air flip like this. And after that moment, everyone was obsessed with GCDS. Everyone was like, this is so fucking fresh. Because also, like, there's always been this cuteness, but in a fierce way. It's always like arriving to the table with a big dick,
Yeah.
but dressed up in a cute
Yeah.
way.
In an elegant packaging, let's
Yeah,
say.
and so I think people very like love this chewy bubblegum fantasy with this tiger. She was just out of the Kanye video, so I was like, she's perfect. And that was my New York Fashion Week debut, which I understood that I didn't need. I had the tools to make it happen.
Yeah.
That was the coming of age, coming to life of my dream in a way like don't stop.
Yeah. Just keep going because you never know what the next step will come in after you complete the first step.
Exactly. And it was just like I can evolve. I have so much to evolve and to learn and to do with this.
Yeah. And what was it like in that kind of, if you could look back at the beginning of GCDS in those first years of, because you scaled up your brand very quickly because it very quickly became a huge brand. What were the things that you were really had to learn in order to, move from, okay, I've done step 1, now I need to do step 2 and step 3. How am I going to do this?
So I was very reckless. At first it was a toy. It was a game. It was not planning my whole life to be that. I was just like, I always say that like my life feels like it's never going to be this forever. This is a moment. And then maybe there's going to be something else. But I take so much passion, so much work, and so much, like I put myself in the condition of doing the best out of that situation.
Yeah.
Being very present and meaningful to every situation because I'm enjoying the ride. Then you don't know. And at first I was just like, I'm gonna do a see-through body patch, and I'm gonna be putting all my favorite pop culture patches and be sued by every one of them to then be recalled by, like, to be called back by all of them to in the future to make capsule collection or collaboration. I always keep studying. That's the thing about me. I'm really about, when I say about culture, to me is being curious. But being curious is also about learning. It's also about watching YouTube video. It's also about listening. I'm really about, I love talking, but I love to listen to people's stories. I'm really like, I want to know your background and why it happened. Like this still to this day inspires me so much. Even the people at my desk today, like they're way younger than me now. And I'm like, what do you like? Why do you like it? But like sometimes, like I have this girl, she just arrived a year ago. She's Japanese. She's such an icon. She's like 24. And sometimes she's like betting all her money on things that all the table is like, why? And she's always right.
Because she has the vision of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this inspires me so much to listen to people and to be able to still appreciate their point of view, that I think I don't want to grow old. Like people most of the time saying, oh, when are you going to grow up? I'm like, I don't want to grow up.
You don't have to.
Exactly. And I felt like this whole system pushing me into idea I had to be the best designer. I had to be the best. I'm never going to be the best at it. I'm just going to be the best at doing what I do best.
Yeah.
And it's listening to the peers, to the people that loves, to the others. Like, of course, being myself, but I just don't want to be, I hope the brand never gets old. This is my biggest wish. Like, I'm going to be doing other things. I'm going to be going somewhere else. I'm going to experience something else. But I hope that the core, it stays like Teyana. It stays like free and like,
what am I feeling in that moment?
Yeah.
What am I passionate about in that moment?
Exactly.
And I think you've managed to do that very well in the sense of not only keeping relevancy. I think nowadays we see a lot of different brands and people kind of struggle to create relevancy, but that has never been a problem for you because I think the youngness and the freshness of you has never left you. You've never taken yourself too seriously to think, okay, now I need to, go into this kind of serious part of fashion, which kind of leads me to the third image, which is the kind of one of your more viral moments, which is the three boob top. And the kind of idea with mutation and extraterrestrial elements that you kind of create sometimes.
I was doing prosthetics 10 years ago, guys.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about why you chose this.
It was actually very meaningful and deep. So it's also part of a story that is a sad story. But I've always been obsessed with boobs. Like, I really love, like, I think one of my favorite things are boobs. I grew up with a mom that had huge boobs. And I love my girls having titties out. I think it's also in my creation, it's part of it. Like bras and like circle bras, Hello Kitty cups, like Jenny with the cups, like custom made around it. I think it's very femininity, it's in a power, like it's guns for me. And I think at that time my mom had just had a cancer. And one meaningful thing she told me was like, yeah, but there's so many things to be nourished. There's so many things we have to keep on milking from life. So we don't have to care about the bad things. And I was like, oh, wow, imagine if in the future, because this show was the Futuro Beach that was basically about how the future would look like to my eyes. It was just imagining if there's going to be these super powerful women in the future with 3 tits because they have to nourish us more and like to give us more of the culture, more of the... And I said, I have to do this. And actually, I was so scared because everyone backstage was like, you're stupid. Why are you ruining your career? They're going to kill you for this. They're going to... And I was like, I'll do it anyway.
You just say, I have to. I have the feeling.
I have the feeling this is deep down, this is it. And the day after, I was on Fox News America live talking about the 3 tits and why I did that. And then everyone was recalling it to different things. Like people were like... the film with Schwarzenegger, which for sure I've saw before, but I didn't even think about this Total Recall babe with 3 tits. And I was going for my idea, but then I loved the idea that everyone was putting different meaning about it. Yeah. And that's what I love the most about my job, that I can come up with different things to different scenarios, and then everyone is like open source of what they want to think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fashion has this power to really start a conversation, and I think a lot of people right now a lot of young designers, when we speak, are kind of very scared to maybe misstep, or they already think they're misstepping before they've even taken that step. And I think you come from the opposite way. You come from it, it's like, I need to do this for myself. And if people want to bash me for it or people want to interpret it differently, that's their problem.
You know what? I also think I was doing it without a malicious thought.
Yeah.
I was just
Which is very important.
Yeah. I was doing it for the show. But the show that I wanted to see, not the show that I wanted to offer for the others to talk about.
Yeah.
I was literally like, I opened my show that this is going to be one of the important things. Like, why? Like, once again, I'm showing a bathing suit. Yeah. How many bathing suits have been done before me?
It's almost like you keep it's not that serious, but I will make it serious because the message behind it is serious.
Yeah. But because I feel the message, I start from the message. Then, of course, it has to be light. Otherwise, if I was talking about breast cancer on my show, it would be like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think it's those moments have really defined you to be a very specific designer that people, I think you kind of inspired a movement of people, especially early in your career, to take things and it's almost like take things with a grain of salt. Things are not always what they look like, or they don't appear like that. How has that changed throughout your, now 10 years of having a brand? Have you changed in any way, or has your process changed when it comes down to irony and to playfulness?
I gotta say that I'm a very fashion baby. Like, I love to buy fashion. I love to consume fashion.
You're your first consumer when you think about these things.
Yeah. And we go to the next picture because it's exactly like the up and the downfall of my creativity. Like,
the next picture being the more so picture.
I literally sketched this. I want to keep on creating, but I felt like this playful, too much of logos and too much of anything was coming to it was almost over. In my heart, what I was consuming at the time I was creating those collections, like very, very looking forward was just like, I don't feel this is trendy anymore.
Yeah.
But what do I do? And I was literally like, people were leaving the company. My best friend left the company. I felt like, oh, my dream is over. Like, now I have to be serious because people like I'm growing up, they want real clothes from me. They want real, the gimmicks were for me were also for me were becoming exhausting. Like, I was like, why do I have to put four tits on a show right now? Like, it's been 7 years that I've been doing this. I had the giant T-Rex pink. I was just like,
Yeah.
being like, oh,
Your
where's
customer is no longer in their 20s, they're in their 30s now,
and
most likely.
exactly, and the logo, and there was this. Everyone was doing a T-shirt with a logo, and everyone was putting logo everywhere. And so I wondered, and like, and then I was looking at the. I really got obsessed with Dracula. I started reading the book over and over, watching the all the movies, everything about Dracula. And I remember to sketch these exact shoes like in a second and be like, this has to be the shoes I want to do. And everyone laughed at me. I was like, they're never going to buy it. Like, still the things that was carrying the brand was the logo and was really like direct. It has to be like very like easy to digest. So Pikachu or this and the bunny, and we do the bunny with the bunny.
And kind of keep that whimsicalness of it.
But I couldn't feel it in myself anymore. I was like, and this was the first time I understood that the logo, I could speak through other messages. I was like, this is it. This is woman. This is my woman. This is a woman that is serious in the front and bites back in the back. And nobody believed but me. So I produced it myself with my own money. Like, I put it on sales. I think this has been the biggest bestseller that I ever had. Like, I've been copied, I've been sued, I've been like, and for the first time I was speaking without the idea of just being put in a box, in a logo. Like, oh, it's the guy that does logo. I forced myself into creating something that was cool for me and was still 100% GCDS and still was like the GCDS customer.
And it's part of that universe as well. It's
Yeah.
the universe could be, SpongeBob and kind of the easier, whimsical part of your childhood, but it can also be the difficult, sexy, controversial part.
And it was literally as if I resigned from my old job and I started over and I said, oh, I have all of these codes, which is the sexy, the playful, the pop, the icons,
the
confident. But how do I make it into a shoes? Because everyone was doing heels in a different, like, and this became my subtle way of being in a chic look, but having something that really defines you as a something.
Yeah, as a creative, as the new chapter, the brand evolves.
Yeah.
As you evolve, and the people that support you also evolve. And I think people also don't realize is that especially when you make shoes, the production and your costs and putting a lot of thought into developing shoes, especially something as specific and as difficult to produce as this, is not an easy task. You have to, as a business person, you have to look at it and think, okay, I believe in my idea.
That's also why when I had this scandal with these shoes that was stolen by fast fashion platforms, let's say so, in order to not say names, it was just not about everyone was like, oh, you're selling for €1,000, we cannot buy it, so we're gonna buy it there, and you're losing money, so you're sad. I was like, it's not about this.
Yeah.
It's just about your creativity being stolen. It's like a part of your identity and what you truly give, the message you put in these shoes and the feelings you have for these shoes and all the good energy you put into these shoes is just out of the window. And I'm fine with with people buying fake stuff. I'm not like saying it's illegal, but like I don't care. Like, there's always going to be people still buying my shoes still to this day. This is bestseller ever. But it was just about how we are transforming everything into a ready-made meal, like a microwave meal.
Yeah. And
And
we don't think about the depth of things, especially in something as an artistic medium like fashion, and everything is just regurgitated, quick. Everything is a quick
and
fix.
and at first I was just like, also like my idea was like, oh, this is really the code I want to play about, and I'm gonna keep it like the same way. And then everyone starts doing the same thing. Everything becomes for everyone.
Yeah.
And so becomes so mediocre, and so becomes everyone has the merchandising with the same white t-shirt. And that was not the direction I wanted to go for, said the
Yeah.
guy that was putting a logo on everything.
But it was a new direction for you, and I think this has been such a pillar in redefining kind of your next era in fashion. Because what I love about your brand is that I can see it on celebrities, I can see it on everyday women, I can see it on drag queens, I can see it on it's a brand that people go to that to kind of bring their side that wants to escape and
Yeah,
that wants to be confident. It's almost like the armor that we always talk about in fashion is,
yeah.
you, especially in something like this is armor at the end of the day.
That's the one thing that made me really happy, and still to this day makes me really happy to hear from people, is that when I wear even the hoodie, they're like, when I wear your hoodie, I feel so confident. And I'm like, oh, cute. And it's just the power that you give to a whole world that then sprinkles on everything. Like it's a sparkle on like a gray coat. What is the GCDS gray coat about? But still, people were like, they love oversized, they love it weird because it's styled, because it's on
Yeah.
a drag queen, because it's like gonna be on a trans woman, and she's just going to be the most beautiful, gorgeous creature you've ever seen. So it's, to me, this was current. Once again, it was becoming like part of the mainstream culture, but with a deepness.
Yeah. And I mean, now I think when we look back at this sketch is, you've created something that has taken on different versions, and it brings me kind of to your current era, which is, you have a very close relationship with, creating custom looks and creating
Mm.
outfits for, your brand also dresses celebrity in a way that is for the stage, it's for bright lights, it's for the kind of their most complete version on stage, which leads me to the next image, which is Lisa at Coachella. And I know that she's kind of been one of the people that really has appreciated your artistry, and she's worn it many times. How do you kind of approach this method of dressing for your muses? Do you have kind of the muse of nowadays? How do you approach that when you create something like this?
So part of it is just because I went to the future long time ago. And so I had like collection of Labubus, not of Labubus, but of items like Labubus before,
Yeah.
way before 10 years ago, or like I was collecting like weird prints. And so I knew that this was what I really liked from the beginning. And when it comes to my muse, I think there's a kind of an exchange of like, they step into my world because they know it's going to be meaningful. Like I'm a product of the Spice Girls. I'm a product of Britney. I'm very that old. And to me, it's just about what's pop culture, what's a pop moment.
Yeah.
And I think generally celebrities sees this. Like, I had the pleasure to work with almost all of the celebrities. Like all the icons that I had in my life, from Beyonce to Kim Kardashian, like the K-pop stars, Jenny, Lisa, like the dream of the dreams. But it was always like a mutual exchange of like respect.
Yeah.
Like I know they come to me when they want to feel empowered, when they want to feel confident. Like I met Kylie Jenner once, more than once, but once she told me, she wore once the pink net with the Morso shoes, see-through, completely naked. And she says, you made my favorite look ever. I was like, which one? The pink net. And I was like, oh, so unexpected. Like very King Kylie, but so unexpected to hear this love for such a weird item. That
Yeah.
was like, for me, my Spider Woman, my power. I again giving power to the woman as
Yeah.
much as they gave to me in all my career. Um, to the process. It's more this, for example, Lisa was the Brett Allen Nelson. He was styling Lisa for Coachella, and he gave me this call, which at first it was very fun because I was on the phone for 10 minutes and I go really sad, not sad, but like work. And it's like, and I said to the team, oh, he asked me about her look. And we were like, oh, for who? For Lizzo. And I was like, yeah, it's fun. Let's do it. Like I've worked many times with Lizzo. I love Lizzo, but I was just not excited at first. And then the PR girls and the people at communication gets the email and they're like, Lisa Coachella 2002. I was like, oh my gosh, this is Lisa.
Yeah, it's a stage. It's a
stage
outfit
moment.
now.
It's becoming to like, I know what am I going to do. Also because Lisa is not in my chords, like in terms of like style.
Yeah.
And Lisa is exactly like the girl. Like it's Sailor Moon. It's like Hello Kitty. And I knew what she wanted. I know I was confident about it. So for me, it's always more about being aligned with what are we going to create. Like I know where she wanted to go.
And I mean, you guys, I can imagine you grew up with kind of very similar references.
Exactly. And also Brett was really like smart enough to say, we're going to do the Hello Kitty one. I was like, what? Yeah, we're going to do the Hello Kitty one. I was like, she's going to go to Coachella in Hello Kitty? I was like, yeah, sure. And designing this was an absolute dream because I felt like this was incorporating the whole career. It was very complicated to make it because it's like a skirt with pants inside with a belt, and like the top it was made to measure like perfectly to be fit in a special fabric that could get the best resolution of the print.
Yeah,
but
and also
move and don't become gray when she stretches it, because most of the time when you have a fabric this stretches and becomes like lined up past the boots and everything. It was just like you're on the right way. Like you've done it amazing, sweetie.
You're kind of on the right way, and people connect with that kind of interesting world that you've created.
Yeah, and that they still understand it and they still get it and they still want it. Which after 10 years feels surreal. There's nothing I've been wanting for 10 years. So like I felt really powerful, and in my own world, my own zone, like of my own world with myself, not powerful to the others, but powerful for myself of what I've like, I made it happen in a beautiful, this is everything I love.
Yeah, you made it happen the way you wanted it and the way that the artist wanted it. And it's like a mutual exchange of creativity.
And it most of the time happens with all of the people I feel very aligned. And that's what brings me to create for my muses. That's what, like, I know what they want. I know what exactly, like, that's really fun about me, because people say, when people say, what's the job you would like to get? People always say brands that are funny, pop, and sexy.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, no, I would love to do something completely different. Like full black, gowns, nothing that I know about. Just because I'm really good at understanding the codes and just reshape it.
Yeah, and pushing yourself and pushing your own point of view.
Exactly.
And I mean, speaking about the future, thinking about it now, looking back at 10 years of GCDS and everything that you've achieved, how does the future look like for you?
Busy? No, it's just like, for now it's a lot of fun. Like it's just we're having so much fun. We're launching incredible, I cannot say what, but like so many stuff that are just, I feel like the brand can, like, if someone comes in, like if the alien comes in 100 years, 200 years, and they can play with the codes without me. And it's what is happening now. So we're going from like beauty, homeware, like stuff but everything feels so coherent and such a girly dream and like such a boy dream. What I hope for myself is I'm really respectful about codes. I really respect people's codes. I love to style my friends, but not styling as Giuliano. styling as they would love to.
Yeah.
And I wish I'm going to get the right opportunity at the right time to do something that is just going to be so unexpected. Once again, like, let's roll with the show. But it could be anything. I would love to style a Broadway show. I would love to do another brand, like in different terms and different ways. I would just keep on learning.
Giuliano Calza, thank you so much for being on Fashion Forensics.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.